Hey everybody, welcome to Navel Gazing. My name is Eugene Driscoll. This is a very special edition of Navel Gazing. It's on video, which is something different. I'm going to say in advance, please bear with me. I am not an expert Zoom user, though I have been Zoom bombed. But as we record this, today is Friday, April 3rd, and my guest, as you can see, joining me from his home, looks like his dining room table, is Seymour First Selectman Kurt Miller. Hey, Kurt, thanks for joining me.
How are you? Great to be with you as always.
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. So before we get into the meat of the podcast, I just wanted to take a moment to humbly remind people that The Great Give is coming up May 5th and May 6th. The Great Give is a 36-hour online fundraiser that benefits just about every nonprofit group in the Valley, including the Valley Independent Sentinel. It's the one time a year I ask people to donate money. So if you want to keep seeing content like this and podcasts like this, where we have town leaders or I have town leaders talk directly to the people, please consider donating during the Great Give. I'll also use the Great Give, as I have in years past, to promote all the other Valley nonprofits you can help. And of course, COVID-19 has shut down our economy essentially at this point. So your support is more important than ever. I would share a screen, but I'll mess it up, so I'm not even gonna bother trying. One other just programming note of how you can help. You know, if you want to fight that feeling of helplessness, if you have it, if you're looking to take some type of action to sort of get out of yourself, you can donate to a new COVID-19 response and recovery fund. Visit www.valleyfoundation.org for more info. So, Kurt, the last time you and I talked was March 23rd. And at the time, you were considering closing Seymour's parks, playgrounds, and fields as a way to dampen the spread of the COVID-19 virus. And
Yes.
what a difference. I mean, that seems like a lifetime ago when the thought of that was somewhat controversial among people, all over, because this was happening all over. And since then,
Right.
just to bring people up to date, as of this recording, 171 people in the Lower Valley have tested positive for COVID-19, including 20 in Seymour. 33
Yes.
people in Seymour have tested negative. Valley-wide, 7 people have passed away. All of the fatalities are in Shelton at this point. 5 of those 7 deaths have happened in Shelton nursing homes. We
Mhm.
know residents in Shady Knoll, nursing home in Seymour have also tested positive. So my first question, Kurt, is there anything you can tell us about what's happening in Shady Knoll and what efforts are being taken there to keep the residents who live there safe?
I've actually had a lot of conversations with Jessica, the executive director of Naugatuck Valley Health. There were some residents had some concerns that Shady Knoll was not doing what they were supposed to be doing. The state of Connecticut has a facilities licensing department, I guess, for lack of a better term, who went in and investigated. Shady Knoll was doing everything they were supposed to be doing. They had all the proper equipment. My last check-in on what was going on there, there were 2 folks. They are they're segregated from everyone else. They have just nurses that are working with just them. So again, there shouldn't be the fear of spreading, and they are following all of the necessary, using all the necessary PPE stuff that they're supposed to be using. So from my understanding, Shady Knoll is on top of it and doing the best that they possibly can in these situations.
And then the public gets daily updates towards the end of each day from the Naugatuck Valley Health District. Uh, it's not an exchange of information. We get the information as is, and we take out of it what we can. But what is on the town level, how is information exchanged? Has anybody from Shady Knoll themselves reached out to the town to sort of give you an update in any way? How does that happen?
No, I think at least from Seymour's perspective, we're using Naugatuck Valley Health as the central point of contact. Just has a lot more access to information than we ever could. So instead of trying to piece things together, instead of hoping we have the most updated and correct information, I had a conversation along with the other mayors, with Jessica, that we would use them essentially as that clearinghouse for all the information that'll come out every day at 3 o'clock. So that way we're all saying the same thing. We're all using the same information. So because when the wrong information gets out, unfortunately, it causes panic, and that's the last thing that we need at this point. So, again, we're trying to provide information we can in an organized fashion.
Okay, and then just to take a step back and look at the bigger picture here. Yesterday, there was a press conference. Every day, the governor and various state officials gather and inform the public about what's happening in terms of COVID-19 in the state, and they also take questions from members of the media. Renee D. Coleman Mitchell is the commissioner of the Connecticut Department of Public Health. And at a press conference Thursday, reporters asked her about the situation in nursing homes. So if you just bear with me, I'm going to attempt to play a clip. And here's what she said about the numbers of COVID-19 positive people in our state's, well, private facilities, just nursing homes located in the state of Connecticut.
As of yesterday, we had, out of our 215 nursing homes, we had 57 that reported COVID-19 positive patients, right? So it's extremely alarming for us because this is the most vulnerable population for us, and we're really just trying to address their needs, being the most vulnerable population.
That was, I think the last one was 30, and I might not remember correctly, so it went from 30 to 57.
57 as of yesterday, and every day that we report out regarding our nursing homes, the numbers continue to increase.
And then down in Shelton, it's not in Seymour itself, but we've got a bunch of nursing homes in the city of Shelton, and that's where the fatalities have happened. We don't know in which nursing homes. I haven't been able to get owners of the facilities themselves to talk, but another reporter asked the commissioner of public health, what are the facilities supposed to be doing to keep the residents safe? Because obviously nursing homes are about the worst place on earth that COVID-19 can be in. So here is, I'll just play you another clip about what's happening statewide, the advice being given.
Being that it's the most vulnerable population, right now we have like basically a two-prong approach. One of the things that we're really trying to do is to separate the COVID-19 patients that are positive from our COVID-19 negative patients within the existing nursing homes. But we're also looking at opportunities to have alternate care sites for patients that may be, if the facility is too small or the size of the facility, that we may have other locations for putting some of our COVID-19 patients and relocate them. So those are the things that we're trying to do, really looking at the size and scope of the facility and addressing the needs of this community, very specifically separating out the COVID-19 positives from the negatives.
And Kurt, have you heard about any of that happening at Shady Knoll? Has there been any talk of having to move anybody at this point to other facilities anywhere? And then my other question is, do you have any idea in terms of transmission? People have asked this on the Valley Indy Facebook page. You know, the nursing homes, my family member's nursing home, not necessarily Shady Knoll, has been locked down for weeks. How did this get in there?
Well, I can't speak to that, how it may have gotten in there. But I think, if nothing else, these stress the importance of social distancing and staying at home. Obviously somehow it got in there because someone came into the facility and had it. Now, could it have been, one of the nurses, doctor, one of the staff members, or it could have just been a guest that was coming in to visit someone. So I think this shows the importance of using social distancing, of staying at home, not going out if you don't have to. And I think that would minimize it. It's very unfortunate you know, I haven't heard anything from Shady Knoll with regards to moving patients. But some of these patients may not be able to be moved depending on their condition. Because Shady Knoll is also a rehab facility, so there could be some folks that are in there that are rehabilitating from injuries or surgery or something like that. So my understanding, again, in my conversations with Jessica, is just what the commissioner had said. They have isolated the two patients. There's, I guess, only two nurses that deal with these patients. They deal with no one else. They have all the proper PPE. So I think they're taking the best steps that they possibly can at this point.
And then just to round out this part of the discussion, there's just one last clip, and I apologize if these are too much, and I apologize if I'm having audio problems. Something just went kablooey there, but they asked the commissioner one last question. A television reporter asked any message that she wants to convey to the families. And I'm playing these clips because these sort of questions have come up over the last 2 days when the state revealed that, by the way, it's circulating not only in nursing homes, it's in Seymour and Shelton nursing homes specifically.
What message do you have for those families, the 23,000 families who have loved ones in these facilities? They're hearing their loved one's facility name thrown out there as a potential option. What sort of assurance do you want to give them tonight, reassurance tonight, that this is going to be a process that's handled delicately and with their safety and health in mind?
I can tell you this, as a commissioner of public health, my biggest concern is to address the needs of this most vulnerable population. I understand that these are loved ones. I have had loved ones in nursing home facilities. I understand that some of these individuals in the nursing homes, this is their home. But from a public health perspective, knowing that we're currently in a pandemic situation that we have never had before, uncharted waters, the biggest concern right now is to mitigate, to reduce the transmission that can occur. You've seen what has happened in the state of Washington and other states, and we are doing our best to work with everybody that we can to not become a situation where this transmission is like wildfire in our nursing homes for our loved ones. And so I can only say to those families, and it's heartfelt, that I understand their concerns. What we're trying to do is to protect them as best as we can. And with that, our goal is to save their lives, ultimately.
Okay, and again, that was the Connecticut Commissioner of the State Department of Health. And Kurt, is there anything you wanted to add? I mean, obviously we didn't do, I should let the public know, Kurt and I didn't talk about what we're going to discuss beforehand. So in terms of the nursing home specifically, is there anything you wanted to add that I haven't asked?
No, I mean, I think everybody just, again, has to just be aware of going out. I mean, I know it's a struggle. I know people are getting a little stir crazy at this point, but the only way that we're going to stop the transmission is for people to stop being together. And, I can certainly understand them wanting to move patients out of, these facilities. How are they going to move them? So now you're going to have to bring a crew of people in to properly move the person. Are you going to be exposing those people to this virus? So I think to the commissioner's point, the more shelter in place that can be done that makes sense, I think that's the way to go. And then if they do need to move people out, then they need to take the steps to do that. But again, anytime you move someone, as the commissioner said, there's additional exposure because you don't know what's going to happen during that move. So it's, I don't think there's any right or wrong answers at this point. We're in uncharted territory. As she said, we just all have to use as much precaution as we possibly can.
And then, Kurt, just in general, I'll share the latest from the Naugatuck Valley Health District. And this is showing the number of people who have tested positive locally or within the jurisdiction of the Naugatuck Valley Health District. And I should point out that Oxford, for whatever reason, doesn't fall under the Naugatuck Valley Health District's jurisdiction. You can go to the state website, the state coronavirus website, to find the Oxford information, because people ask that every single day.
Yeah, Pump Rock.
On Pompey, yes.
Yeah.
So in terms of, so there's 20 cases in Seymour, 33 negative laboratory reports. In terms of the Seymour, people have tested positive. Do you have any idea of, are we talking about a few families, or is it spread? Is there any information like that you can share?
It seems to be spread at this point. One could argue that if it's, if I had it as an example, one can argue that more than likely my family's going to have it. As far as I know, these are spread out across town. They're spread out with different age and sex characteristics. So, it's not just, it's all older folks. It's not just younger folks. It's kind of a mix of people. So, but as I've said to my staff and other conversations, this is going to get worse before it gets better. And you go out and you see people still congregating together to the store. You see people stopping and talking to one another. Even at town hall for a few appointments that we've had, people come in, they'll stand right next to each other. We have to tell them, you have to spread apart until people start taking this. Until everyone, I shouldn't say people, until everyone starts taking this seriously. This is going to continue because it's going to keep spreading. And it's just one of those things, unfortunately.
And then in terms of, and I don't mean to dominate the interview, because what I don't want to do, I'm getting a lot of technical issues feedback. I don't know what's going on. You're cutting out a little bit. I'm cutting out a little bit. So we might have to cut this short because I don't want to have people sit through an hour of. But right, yeah, and hey, this is life now with the COVID-19 running around.
All good stuff, I have to say.
In terms of anything you want to get out there, is there any new directives coming from Seymour Town Hall? You had just mentioned, hey, people, please don't show up at City Hall and bang on the window asking to see the first selectman. What do you want people to know?
Well, again, people need to stay inside. I understand that some things are pressing. Some business needs to be conducted, and I get that. We've made accommodations for that. You need to call. A lot of the functionality at Town Hall we can do remotely. So we're taking care of that. Things that, there needs to be some face-to-face interaction. We have process in place to address that for residents. But, if a resident just shows up at Town Hall, we are not going to let them in. And standing there screaming and yelling is not going to change anything, because we need to think of the safety of our staff members as well as the general public. So again, as things change, we try to put information out, but nothing has changed in the last few days. That's why there's been no new messages. It's stay home, shelter in place, try to slow the spread of this virus. If you are having issues, whether it be with getting food or things like that, you need to give us a call. We have the phones are staffed. People will get back to you relatively quickly. We've gotten calls about people needing help getting food, different things like that. Unfortunately, the town of Seymour does not have enough toilet paper to give it out to the residents. I've actually gotten 5 or 6 emails on that asking if, since the schools are closed, if we could pass out all the toilet paper to the residents. We don't have that much toilet paper to be able to have any type of impact, nor do we know who actually needs what. So, Eugene, you could be a family that's went out and bought 4 or 5 cases of toilet paper, has plenty, and now suddenly you're in line to get toilet paper. That's the other thing. We will not be doing or condoning any type of activities that bring large groups of people together. It just doesn't make any sense. There's nothing that is that pressing. I understand people are doing a lot of, spring cleaning and things like that because they have the free time to do so, and it certainly makes sense. We're keeping the transfer station open full time. The attendant will not come out and help you. They are requiring people to keep that social distancing, essentially one car at a time can go up to the hopper and unload, things like that. So, we're trying to provide that, but for the most part, our goal is to keep people as spread out as possible and to have as little contact with the public as we possibly can.
And then, Kurt, you have a selectman meeting coming up next week, I think.
We start all the meetings back up on next week.
Okay.
So the Board of Education will go on Monday. We go on Tuesday. The Board of Selectmen goes on Tuesday. And then they're working on something for the Board of Police Commissioners and the Board of Finance.
Anything of note coming up on the Board of Selectmen meeting?
No, it's just going to be me mostly giving an official update to the rest of the board on the day-to-day activities, kind of what's going on. I've been providing that information unofficially to the different selectmen. They will call, they'll send emails. So we try to provide as much as that, but we want to put that out on the record. Plus, if any residents want to call in, they're going to be able to listen. They won't be able to make any comments because, as you know, with everything that's going on, we have to be very careful as to what kind of access there is to that. But, we encourage folks. It's going to be on Zoom, yep. We encourage folks to send, if they have comments, to send those in writing. We'll absolutely read them into the record. There's no problem. There have been a bunch of executive orders that have come out over the last 2 or 3 days, a lot of them dealing with the payment of taxes and things like that. So the attorneys are going through those now. We have a few resolutions ready to go, but we're waiting for some final, I guess, definitions or guidance from OPM, because one of them is the deferment of taxes for up to 90 days. But you essentially have to qualify. So, you and I, we both still have jobs. We're both still being paid. So based on the way the executive order was written, we wouldn't qualify. But, the next person down the road who has lost their job, they would qualify. So how do you go about proving all of this? So while the executive order is great in the theory of it, OPM still has to work through the practicality of how it's going to work. So we have the ordinance ready to go to be put in front of the selectmen to be voted on, assuming we can get that guidance from OPM, because to put the resolution in force without the guidance, it makes no sense. And at that point, it's just a kind of a feel-good, fluffy thing to do that really has no impact.
Okay. Well,
Mr. My son running by waving. He just gave you the thumbs up, Eugene.
All right.
You're doing a nice job.
Hey, I appreciate that. Tell him to donate during the Great Give if he could.
Oh, he's a poor college student with no job. So.
Oh, all right.
Him donating is really me donating.
Well, yeah. If he can steal your credit card, that would help me out. Oh, yeah.
It's already in his pocket.
I want to thank you. We're going back a little crazy with the video right now, so it's probably a good time to end it. But again, thank you so much for doing this out of the blue, unprepared, and for just answering any questions that I have. And then just before we go, before I hit the unrecord, is there anything else? I believe it's called the stop button. Anything else you wanted to throw out there? And your video froze. So maybe.
Is there anything else I'd like to throw out there? Okay, I'm back.
Yeah.
No, you froze. All right, now we're back.
What do you mean I froze? You froze.
Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to say no. I'm going to wait until we're done, and then I'm going to put something out.
That's what I keep asking. That's what I'm trying to politely. That's what I keep. That. All right, it's not working anymore, Kurt. I'm just going to send you an angry email.
No, I don't. That's right.
All right, sorry. I heard you, but yeah, don't do that. Thanks a lot, Kurt. I'm going to stop recording.